Hey everybody, I'm Rob.
I'm Smitty.
I want to welcome you to Chipola's fifth quarter podcast. One of the amazing things, as you've heard me say before about this podcast, is we get to film, Smitty, from this wonderful studio. We have an amazing media team here at Chipola College, and we're also students of the Business and Technology program. We're students of the old program here. So it was ranked fifth best in the nation.
Fifth best?
Fifth best in the nation. We pride ourselves in that. So if you're been out of college for a little while, maybe you dropped out, maybe you had to take a leave of absence, maybe you want to go back for something else and you're kind of undecided, we encourage you to check out Chipola College's website. I believe it's at chipola.edu. Check out some of the courses that they offer, and if you're still undecided, come talk to us. We'd be glad to steer you in the right direction, or Dr. David Bovin over at the Business and Technology Department. Smitty, how about those Seminoles, man?
Oh, it was a nail biter.
Oh, yeah. I had tickets on the 40-yard line. Had a buddy of mine that was kind enough to lend a brother a ticket. So I got to watch the action up close. Taking care of business in Doak Campbell, 31-28. The Noles win. Smitty, how in the world did this happen? Because Hurricane fans were talking trash for at least 3 weeks before this game even thought about being televised.
The history between Florida State and Miami, it goes back to like the mid 80s. You might say earlier, but it's just nothing but trash talk, left, right, and center. And I think that's one of the biggest plays in this rivalry is because these kids they grew up in the state and they played football, they played against each other or with them and stuff like that, and that's one of the great moments, like with the wide lefts and wide rights.
That's when the rivalry started getting bitter.
It was
the Jimmy Johnson days, Bobby Bowden. Both programs kind of coming up at the same time. Any Canes fans that watch the podcast, the Canes kind of ruled the '80s. Won't take nothing away, but then here come the Noles in the '90s.
Now, to be fair, I think all the games from the '80s and the '90s as a whole, they were just slobber knockers. It pretty much came down to like a field goal, basically.
Yeah, but those were the days, though, when you had, you don't want to take anything away from the teams of today, but that was back in the day when, a lot of the players at Florida State and at Miami played with a sense of pride, but I want to say it was Michael Irvin, when you went to the U back in those days, you were proud to wear that helmet, wear that uniform, and to play for the U. When you went to Florida State, you were proud to wear that garnet and gold and to rep the Seminoles. And, you had two coaches like Jimmy Johnson and Bobby Bowden, and, of course, it wasn't all Jimmy Johnson. You had guys like Howard Schellenberger, Larry Coker, guys like that had made Miami the program that it is. And then, Bobby Bowden, we're just going to call it what it is. He took a program from scratch, as we've said before on this podcast, and built it from the ground up, But taking care of business in Tallahassee, man, the Hurricanes were in the seat. It was my understanding they were in the driver's seat to win the Coastal Division in the ACC, Smitty, and we have foiled those plans. Canes dropping to 5-5, losing 31-28 to the Noles. Noles improving 4-6, Smitty, and here's something else for the fans that watch the podcast. Norvell has already exceeded last year's record of, I want to say, what was it? It was like 3-5, something like that.
Around that much.
He got about 3 wins, so he's got 4 now. And now the conversation has switched from, well, FSU is going to lose out to we may actually become bowl eligible now. We still got the Gators coming up in a couple.
Not to mention Boston College, which they have been giving Florida State a hard time from time to time.
Right.
And I think they are currently unranked at the moment. So. I think there's been ups and downs with Boston College as well, and I think the Florida State needs to buckle down and focus on that game instead of worrying about the Gators, because it only takes one game to ruin everything, especially if the goal is to go become bowl eligible.
Yeah, so you don't want to get too far ahead of yourselves. The Canes are now at 5-5. All they got to do is pick up another win. The Canes will be bowl eligible. But this Florida State team was actually kind of impressive on Saturday. Let's break down some of these stats. 434 yards of total offense, 274 in the passing yards, 160 in the rushing yards. The run game typically, from a coach's perspective, kind of sets up the pass. And Florida State done a real great job Saturday of kind of, getting the run going, averaging 5.9 yards a play. You don't want to take anything away from the Canes either. They averaged about 5.1 yards a play. But the difference was first downs. We ended up getting 24 first downs to Miami's 20. Third down efficiency, we were 3 for 15. Miami was 6 for 16. Smitty, we went to the half, me being there, it was 20-7 Knowles. So, naturally when you go into halftime, if I'm Mike Norvell, I'm thinking there's not really very many adjustments that we need to make, if we're being honest, because defense was definitely keeping Miami to 3 and outs. Offense was getting the job done when they needed to. And it's like we come back out that second half, and the next thing you know, Miami goes up 28-20 heading into the fourth quarter. And the Knoll fans, including myself, were starting to get worried. We're thinking, have we just...
They took the foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah.
That's what got Florida State in the second half. And this has actually been a recurring theme for Florida State.
Right.
I mean, when they get ahead, all is well. But then they attempt to make adjustments, but they don't follow through on them.
Yeah.
Or either that, the other teams made the proper adjustments to combat Florida State's offense.
Yeah, because it was my understanding that Manny Diaz was in the hot seat. And time of possession doesn't lie. We had the ball 36 minutes 9 seconds to Miami's 23 minutes 51 seconds. Keeping that defense on the field, wearing them down thin, really played a pivotal role in the win.
But Miami capitalized on the time of possessions to where they got 20 unanswered points on us. And that's just giving props to Miami where credit is due.
Right.
I mean, they managed to pretty much exploit defensive woes, especially on the passing end, because they got 316 yards in passing.
Yeah, don't want to take anything away from them.
Right, exactly. And the rushing yards is only 43. I think that's what bit them when it comes to the overall scheme of things.
Right.
But let's go to the individual stats, because that is where you see the stars of the game.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to Jordan Travis, going 18 to 26, going for 274 yards. And that key play where he went for 2, punched that ticket in for that 2-point conversion that gave us 31-28.
And Smitty, I got to stop you there. Let's say hypothetically, because at that point, in that situation, it was first and goal. We knew we had, at least 4 chances to score, and it was do or die. And then you score the touchdown, so you're thinking, okay, we got the touchdown. Do we kick the field goal and go up by 1, or do we take a chance and go for 2 and make it a 3-point game?
I like Norvell's game plan to try to get those 3 points lead, because he trusted Florida State, the defense of Florida State, to hold them to where at least get a field goal.
Right.
And I believe they made the corrections based off the woes off the Jacksonville State and the other losses, which are many, but he did what he had to. He went for that initial the field goal for 3 points, going like 28 to 23, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't math today. But and then they did what they had to, but that 4th and 14, that was the make it or break it moment.
Right.
And Jordan Travis made that bullet.
He put the ball in play where it had to go.
Yeah.
And going back to your previous statement, you got to play with some guts, especially against it's rivalry week. So you don't want to come out in this game and put yourself in a situation where woulda, coulda, shoulda. And I'm really glad that we went for 2 and it paid off. When you got a guy like Jordan Travis taking snaps under center, what you get with him is what he doesn't find downfield. If he's got even like 2 or 3 inches of a seam in between the tackles, he's going to take it and run. And that's exactly what he did. That final 2-point conversion, the hole was wide open. Travis had nobody to throw to, nor did he want to force anything in there. He takes it.
And going back to that 2-point conversion play, I mean, I think there was a neutral zone infraction that on the Miami side that kind of almost gave them a free play, but I think it was a shadow play at that time. But this is where the controversy starts.
Yeah.
That 3-second rule. I had no idea this was a rule at all.
And I'll bet some Miami fans are probably still steaming over that because, what was his name? Was it
Van Dyke?
Van Dyke, the quarterback, number 9 for Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell there was a sense of urgency. They were thinking maybe we can get a free play out of this, spiking the ball. And even I didn't understand the rule, but it was my understanding that the ref said by rule there has to be 3 seconds or more on the clock in order for you to spike the ball and stop. I'm sure there was a lot of Miami fans questioning that.
Right. However, even if you take the 3-second rule out of the equation,
Right.
Van Dyke took 3 steps back and then spiked it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know the NFL has this kind of rule,
Right.
and I don't know if college has the similar rule, but I think that would be grounds for intentional grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally, when you spike the ball to stop the clock, you get the ball and you just spike it.
Right.
You don't go backwards.
Right.
So you can make an argument that that could have either made the play go further back or have a runoff.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how that goes. I probably need to look into it a little bit more. But
Right.
you can make that argument where that could have also.
I certainly will say this, Smitty, before we move into our next segment. Had he been given that free play, I'd be lying to the fans of the podcast and the Knowles if I said that I didn't have flashbacks of Jacksonville State all over again. I'm thinking you spike that
I'm
ball,
sure.
you got one free play left. You're gonna line up just empty in an empty set. You're gonna have 2 receivers on each side. You're just gonna throw up the prayer and find somebody downfield.
I'm pretty sure. Well, hopefully that Novell is like, we're not having this again.
Right.
So
Yeah.
cover 0, get everybody back,
Yep.
rush 3, and
Yep.
pray to the football gods.
Yeah. Yep. And so the Knowles getting it done, Smitty. Congratulations. It's good to see the Knowles get a win. Moving on to the NFL, Smitty, we're finishing up week 10. We got about 7 more weeks of pro football. College football's got about 2 to 3 more weeks, depending upon which teams have a bye week late in the season. Let's talk about this playoff picture. There would be a total of 14 teams in the NFL playoffs for this season. 7 teams will make the postseason playoffs from each conference. So let's kind of break this down, Smitty. Let's start in the AFC North. You got the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers. Who has impressed you the most out of the AFC North this year, Smitty?
Definitely the Ravens.
The Ravens?
They've been on a hot streak. Granted that they surprisingly lost to the Dolphins of all teams.
And I want to stop you. Go Dolphins. Fins up, baby. It's about time. Losing 22-10 at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. The Dolphins improving to, I say improving now, I use this term loosely, to 3-7. No, we may not be thinking playoff, Spitty, but go Miami Dolphins. The defense absolutely terrorized Lamar Jackson all night. Offense, took them a little while. But when Tua come in the game, that last few minutes, Smitty, that's when this Dolphins team really started coming alive.
I'm trying to figure out, where was this been for the past 6 or 7 weeks?
It's much like with anything else, man. I mean, you get your hopes up. I mean, we'll kind of compare it to week 1 college football. FSU comes out at home against Notre Dame. I would dare say that FSU had their hopes up. Florida State, we had our hopes up. And had we had beaten Notre Dame, that probably would have given us much needed confidence going into the rest of the season to win.
Oh, yeah.
Well, with Miami, we come off that week 1 win against New England. The Dolphins, coming off the win at New England, and it's like we just fall apart from there. Week 2, Tua goes down, Jacoby Brissett takes over the snaps. And you just fall apart. The locker room has got to be in shambles. My personal opinion, I think Chris Greer, the GM at the Dolphins, probably needs to find a new home, a new organization to work for, because from personal opinion, Miami has always had a hidden talent of trading away good players or not renewing contracts to players that can actually help this team win. Miami has a rich history in football, the 72 Dolphins, the undefeated season. You don't want to get hung up on that, but I just think there's a lot in the front office that needs to be fixed before this organization can go back in the right direction. But anyway, that's another topic for another time. Smitty, the Baltimore Ravens and the AFC North have impressed you the most. Week 7, do we have the same conversation, or are we talking about another team from this division?
The Steelers maybe. They actually got a tie against the Lions. So
The 0-8 Lions.
0-8-1.
Oh.
Well, they have to put the tie. Why is there ties?
Well, some people have to be petty, Smitty. That's just kind of how it goes. Moving on to the AFC East. Smitty, be nice to me because you see my favorite team is in here. You got Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and last but not least, the New York Jets. I apologize if we have any Jets fans that watch this podcast. Lol Jets. Smitty, out of the AFC East, I think this one's a no-brainer. I'm going to take a guess and say that the Buffalo Bills have impressed you the most.
Yes, but they have been slacking recently.
Yep, this is true.
But the Patriots, with a devastating destruction of the Cleveland Browns, and They might be on a path. The Patriots might have a chance to get into the playoffs with Mac Jones as quarterback.
So we say that Mac Jones is probably the new. You don't want to say Brady, but he's probably going to be the guy in New England for years to come.
I think he's going to be the guy
Yeah.
leading the Patriots offense.
Yeah,
Now they have to go through the Bills.
Yep, this is true. Josh Allen and the Bills, who surprisingly was it 2 weeks ago, Smitty lost 9-6 to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's why the Buffalo Bills are kind of a bit suspect at the moment.
Yeah,
but
a little
they have a
sus.
chance to make a comeback.
Yeah,
So
this is true.
there's 7 more weeks,
Yeah,
and just like college, anything can happen.
anything can happen. So week 17 into the season, Smitty, do we have the same conversation for the AFC East, or are we talking about a different team?
I say it might remain the same,
Yep.
but the Patriots might come out of nowhere.
Yep. So moving on to the AFC South, you got the 1-8 Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans. Smitty, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna say out of that division, the Tennessee Titans will probably have to dominate the AFC South right now.
Oh yeah, they are sure. They sure is dominating even without their conquering
King Henry?
running back King Henry. Yeah.
Yeah, but signing Adrian Peterson, was it a week later? They signed AP. They got who is it? They have Julio Jones, guys like that. I say this Tennessee Titans team, if nothing else, draws a wild card. Possibly, automatically gets a bid in the divisional, but that's just. We'll get to that in a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself in the playoff pictures.
I will say this: if the Tennessee Titans keep doing what they're doing, maintaining that running game dominance,
Yeah.
they are a shoe-in.
Yeah, no question. I will have to say that because the AFC South has been rebuilding for some time. Houston, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Indianapolis is still in the rebuilding year. Jaguars, moving on to the next team.
Such disrespect.
Look, man. We're just gonna have to let that lie there. Moving on to the AFC West, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, the Las Vegas now Raiders, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Smitty, this one right here might be tough. Out of the AFC West, there's a toss-up between at least 3 of these teams. Talk to me. Who do you see?
Well, the Raiders ain't doing too hot right now, considering everything going on within that organization.
Right.
So, I don't really see them getting into the playoffs.
Right.
But something could change. I mean, they're 5-4 currently. So.
Yeah.
So they have chances, but it's very thin margin.
Right.
Right now, I think for the AFC West, you're looking at either the Kansas City Chiefs or the Los Angeles Rams. Yes.
Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers. Whatever.
We'll go with that. Due to time constraints, let's kind of move forward in this, Smitty. The NFC North: Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings. Smitty, talk to me. Who has impressed you the most?
Green Bay Packers, hands down.
Hands down. Is there a worthy opponent out of this division other than, I would say the worthy opponent would probably be the Bears at this point.
Possibly. The Vikings are still struggling, and the Lions are the Lions.
Yep, the Lions are the Lions. I love Barry Sanders, by the way, if we have any Lions fans that watch the podcast. Smitty, moving on to the NFC East. You got them boys. Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, Washington football team. Now, before I let you answer this one, Smitty, the Washington football team beating the Tampa Bay Bucks this past Sunday.
Wow.
We'll probably talk about that one in just a minute. But, Smitty, who has impressed you the most out of the NFC East?
Dallas Cowboys for sure, because they're coming off last season. Just that entire division as a whole was just tank division, basically.
Pretty much.
But they've capitalized on a resurging Dak Prescott.
Yep.
Their receiving core is pretty good, and their defense has been stepping up.
Absolutely.
But watch out for the Washington football team.
Yep.
Because they might ride that momentum.
Shout out to Fitzmagic. I believe he's with the Washington football team, so you never know what could happen.
Yep.
Moving on, Smitty, NFC South, Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Bucks. By the way, Cam Newton is no longer a free agent. He returns home to Carolina Panthers.
He's back.
Yeah.
Return of the Newton.
Yeah, and would it interest you to know that they beat, at the time, the 8-1 Cardinals this past Sunday? Yeah, that was a shocker. I think Cam had two long hauls for a touchdown. You know, Cam, he's got those legs, and even though he's a 9-year veteran in the league, you know, he's proven, hey, this old man has still got it.
Yeah, and he's been going through a lot, especially with his injury, especially with his shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, it clearly showed during his tenure with the New England Patriots, but. He's got that time. He's got that rest. I'm pretty sure he's been working on conditioning, and he definitely proved it on that game.
Yep. No question, Smitty. So moving on to the last division before we talk about the playoff picture and wrap it up. NFC West, Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks. Smitty, this one might be tough.
Oh, yeah, that's looking tough.
You could look at I could look at a couple sleeper teams out of that division.
Yeah, and the Cardinals need to get their act together because they lost 2 already.
Yep.
So, I mean, they still have a shot at going to the playoffs.
Right.
For sure. But if they want to get that chance, they need to buckle down, get their offense going again. I think their main quarterback was out for like, what, a few weeks?
Was it? Kyler Murray, as far as I know, is still playing. I don't know if.
I know for 1 week he was out.
It's my understanding that he's not out for any length of time. I think he actually ended up playing Sunday,
right.
Unless I misheard. But yeah, so Smitty, I would have to say out of that division, the Arizona Cardinals stand a good chance if they don't start going down the tube for the rest of the season.
Right.
So as it stands, Smitty, to wrap up the podcast, man, here is the playoff picture. If the season were to end today, here's the AFC playoff picture. You got the Tennessee Titans in the number 1 slot at 8-2. Buffalo Bills sitting at number 2 seed, 6-3. Baltimore Ravens sitting in third at 6-3. Kansas City Chiefs the number 4 slot at 6-4. Pittsburgh at number 5. New England at number 6. Los Angeles Chargers at number 7. Now here who's on the outside looking in. Smitty, Cincinnati's on the outside looking in. The Bengals. You got the Las Vegas Raiders. Denver Broncos, Cleveland Browns, and the Colts are on the outside looking in of the AFC playoff picture. Week 17, does any one of these teams that are on the outside looking in barely get inside and make the playoff? Because we would have to agree these teams that I just mentioned, if they have a shot at making it, they're just going to get in by the skin of their teeth.
I say if Cleveland Browns can make a turnaround, they might squeeze in.
Yeah.
Depending if any of the 5, 6, and 7 slots do something horrendous or just start tanking.
This is true. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think you're looking, as far as the AFC is concerned. I think you can see the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills. I don't know that Kansas City is going to necessarily make it back to the AFC Championship. Could be wrong, Smitty. Stranger things have happened. But I think you could potentially, with the way Tennessee's playing and with the way Buffalo's playing right now, I think those are going to be your 2 for the AFC playoff picture. Moving on to the NFC. Smitty, here's who's locked in if the season were to end today. You got the Green Bay Packers, number 1 seed, 8-2. Arizona Cardinals behind them at number 2 at 8-2. Dallas Cowboys at number 3. Tampa Bay Bucks at number 4. You got the LA Rams sitting at number 5. The Saints at 6. Carolina at 7. Here's who's on the outside looking in. The Falcons, the Vikings, the Eagles, 49ers, Bears, Seahawks. Smitty, Week 17 gets here. On the outside looking in, who makes it in by the skin of their teeth, if at all?
I don't really see any of the outsiders looking in, getting in, but Seattle Seahawks just got Russell Wilson back.
DK Metcalf is pretty solid at receiver, very strong, good on the block too.
Right, and if they can do a turnaround, they might slip in. But I don't really see the Falcons or the Vikings or especially the Eagles or the injury-prone 49ers coming in as well.
This is true. Trey Lance taking a lot of the snaps there. You know, Garoppolo's kind of taking a backseat in San Francisco. Smitty, I'm going to be honest with you. I said this several weeks back when Green Bay played Arizona and beat them. I want to say it was 3 weeks ago to a month ago, something like that. I told somebody, I said, I think we just saw basically a preview of the NFC Championship game. I'm calling it now. I say Green Bay and Arizona will play for the NFC Championship this year. I think Tampa Bay is falling apart. You know, the Bucs falling to the Washington football team. That locker room is somewhat divided. You know, you got Odell that left Cleveland. He's signed with the LA Rams, but I don't think the Rams just because you have all that talent on your team doesn't guarantee that you're going to win. You got personality clashes. You've got a locker room that sometimes can get divided, and a lot of that factors into a team's successes or not so much success. Smitty, I'm going to be honest with you. As far as the NFC, I say it's locked in. I say Green Bay and Arizona are going to play for the NFC Championship. The AFC is a toss-up. And as far as the outside looking in, if I could just weigh in here, I say if there was any team that managed to get in by the skin of their teeth, draw a wild card, I say I'm going to go out on a limb here, Smitty, but I say that the Chicago Bears could potentially draw a wild card. I know that's bold.
That is bold.
But I say the Chicago Bears could possibly draw a wild card if they can get some things turned around in Chicago.
Well, they got 7 weeks left.
Yep, so we're going to have to figure it out. Smitty, it's always good to talk football with you. You guys have a great Thanksgiving week next week. We will not be with you. We'll probably be with you, Smitty, the week after?
Oh, yeah.
Probably see you guys in a couple weeks, talk some football. Enjoy it. We hope that you'll watch some of the games over Thanksgiving weekend. And Smitty, Lord willing, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, talk some more football.
Absolutely.
See you.